What's going on, guys? Fuller here from Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube. And whether you're buying your first set of wheels or you're getting your 10th set of wheels, we're hoping this video helps you with the top 10 tips to find perfect fitment. So we'll just jump right into it then, starting at number 10 and working our way down. So for number 10, the thing you're going to want to understand is the numbers, basically. So you have width, offset, diameter, backspacing. There's a ton that goes into it, but the really big important ones that you want to know for fitment are going to be your width and your offset. Now, diameter doesn't play as much of a role as you may think, but it's just important to know all the different measurements on wheels. And if you need more information on that, we have a ton of videos on our YouTube channel that explain just what all of those numbers are. I'm not going to cover them all, although this would be too long of a video, but then we'll move to number 9. When it comes to perfect fitment, there's going to be different variations for different people. Like in the car scene, it's pretty easy. Essentially, everybody wants to go fender to lip or they want to sit flush. But in the truck world, it's not quite so simple. So you have to understand what perfect fitment is for you. So typically in the truck world, you're going to be looking at something that's tucked in, flush, or stance fitment, which is going to be like way outside of your wheel wells. So somebody that wants a tucked fitment might be one of those like hardcore off-road guys or an overlander who doesn't want to completely cover all their windows full of mud so that they can still see out of them. Somebody that wants a flush fitment might be a daily driver, might still be someone who does some mild off-roading. And then there's the stance fitment guys that are going purely for aesthetics. They want the widest wheels possible that fit on there because they just love the way it looks when you have this much wheel and tire outside from your OEM fenders. For number 8, it's important to not be afraid of cutting. So in most situations where people are putting larger wheels or tires on their vehicles, you're going to run into some sort of cutting or trimming on your truck, or at the very least, you're gonna run into rubbing. So know that that's possible, it could likely happen, and just be prepared for it. We usually say expect the worst and hope for the best when it comes to that, but there are certain situations where you might have to cut out the back part of your fender liner or the front part of your fender liner or trim some plastic up, and just know that almost every setup, if you want it to fit perfect and look the best, you're gonna have to trim some of those hidden parts that you wouldn't normally see or need to worry about anyway. For number 7, one thing to keep in mind is that if you go up, you can go out. So what I mean by that is the higher you lift your truck, essentially, the wider you can go with your wheel and tire setup. So installing a lift kit basically makes more room in your wheel wells so that you can run those larger wheel and tire setups. So like I said, just keep in mind, if you want to fit a wider setup, just lift your truck up more and you should be able to clear that. For number 6, we're gonna dive a little bit into sizing. So what I want people to know is don't get tricked into believing a 20 by 12 wrapped in a 35, 12.5 is gonna fit any different than a 22 by 12 wrapped in a 35, 12.5. So this is where I said diameter doesn't matter nearly as much as some of the other numbers. Whether you have a 20-inch wheel or a 22-inch wheel, as long as they're both 12 wides, both negative 44 offset, and both wrapped in the same size tire, for example, a 35 by 12.5, they're going to fit the exact same as far as how far they stick out and where you're going to rub and where you might need trimming. The diameter does not affect that. It just gives you a larger wheel and reduces some of the sidewall on your tire. So it's still important to know what the diameter is, because if you're looking for a more aggressive off-road setup, you're not going to want that 22 and 35 because you're going to have a sidewall about this big. If we have a 20 and a 35, then you have a sidewall that's essentially 2 inches larger. For number 5, even though I just told you diameter doesn't matter that much, now I'm going to tell you that it sort of does if you use metric tire sizes. So metric tire sizes for the general population of people can get kind of confusing because a 295/55 or something like that is just not a normal number that you would know, and it's not really just in millimeters because it has to do with the cross-section width and your aspect ratio, and a whole bunch of things change depending on what size diameter wheels you have. So just know that a 295/55 R20 fits different than a 295/55 R18. But you don't really have to understand metric sizes completely and totally because we have a ton of calculators on our website. If you come out to customoffsets.com, on the right-hand side, if you're on a computer, it'll say calculators. If you click on that, there's a whole bunch of different conversions there so that you don't have to worry about knowing those metric tire sizes. For number 4, this might only apply to some people, but it's important to know and understand some of the laws when it comes to stance, depending on your state. So for example, we're in Wisconsin. The law says that you can't have your tires stick out more than 2 inches past your factory, the widest part of your factory body line. So the thing is, most cops don't care, especially in Wisconsin. I know in many other states they don't really care that much either, but depending on what state you're in, you might have different laws affecting bumper height or headlight height or how far your wheels and tires can stick out. So if you're one of those guys that doesn't want to run into problems with the cops, just know about that. And maybe it's because you can't have any interaction with cops because your parole agent said so. So jumping into number 3 then, I don't want people to get tricked into thinking that just because their buddy has a 4-inch lift and 35s, that they can also have a 4-inch lift and 35s, because this is where width really comes into play here. So say he's got the 4-inch lift on his Silverado, it's the same year, make, and model as yours, but he's running the 35 by 12.5s on his stock wheels. That has a totally different offset. They sit way more in than if you are running a 12 wide. A 12 wide and 35s is not going to fit on a 4-inch lifted Chevy Silverado 1500, but you might be able to fit 35s on stock wheels on that same exact truck with the same exact lift. So just don't be tricked into thinking that because one person is able to run it, that you will also be able to run it. You have to make sure all of the numbers are the same. So the width and the offset there are going to be the 2 really important ones. And you can't say that a guy with a Silverado 1500 is going to have the same fitment as somebody with a Toyota Tacoma. 2 completely different trucks, completely different lift options, and completely different fitment. Getting down lower on our list then for number 2, what I want to explain to you guys is the fitment gallery on our website. So it's super easy to use to figure out exactly what fits without having to spend hours and hours reading forms. You basically search by year, make, model, and then what I recommend doing is only entering the width of the wheels that you want to run to get the broadest picture of what's going to fit your truck. Because if you do that, you kind of leave diameter out of the question, so you can pick whatever you want, whether it be 18s, 20s, 22s, 24s, and so on. Because if you have the width and the tire size, that's really all you need to go with to figure out how much lift you want. So by clicking on each of those, you'll then see how much lift the person is running. You'll see the rubbing and the trimming details in there. And if you add too many filters, so if you search by the diameter and the width, and then you add in the brand, it's just going to narrow down the results too much where you might only have like 3 trucks to choose from. We always recommend finding at least 3 people running the exact same setup so that you know for sure that it's going to fit, since it is all user submitted data. Another thing with that is know that a 20 by 12 negative 44 hostile is going to fit the exact same as a 20 by 12 negative 44 fuel. So don't narrow it down too much. If you put in the brand in there because you want to see that specific wheel on that specific color truck with all the same options you have, you might not find exactly what you're looking for. But if you find the black version of Hostile Alpha and you see a chrome version of Hostile Alpha and they're both the same size, they're still going to fit the same. So the gallery is designed to find that fitment information for you, not necessarily show you pictures of the exact things that you want installed in your vehicle. But with over 55,000 trucks, there's a good chance you probably can. The last tip to get perfect fitment on your vehicle is simply to use custom offsets. We have all these tools available for you. We sell wheels, tires, suspension. You can add it all to the cart at one time. We do offer financing too, so if you don't want to spend $5,000 all at once, you can always make monthly payments too, or just find them cheaper options. We have a ton of videos out there about like the top 5 wheel and tire packages under $1,000 or under $2,000. There's a ton of options out there for you, so come check us out. We do everything wheel, tire, suspension, customoffsets.com. Yeah, that's it. There's no / or anything. Check us out, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. We're all over the place. Peace.